Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of Hospitality MD. I'm Kyle, of course, and today Neil Upadhyay is joining me from Ames, Iowa, at the Gateway Hotel and Conference Center as the Director of Operations. Thanks so much for sitting down, taking the time out of your busy week to meet with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was checking out your hotel online and everything, and I just realized it's the hotel that the not University of Iowa, but Iowa State University uses for its hospitality program. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, we have a very, very close partnership with Iowa State. A lot of our owners and investors used to be, or not used to, but are graduates from Iowa State. So it's a very close relationship there.
So does that mean that because I'm familiar with Iowa State's like School of Hospitality Management, I know it's probably one of the better programs outside of Chicago in the Midwest and outside of maybe Michigan State. So it's a very reputable program. Is that the hotel that students will use who are attending that as like their kind of real life simulation for hospitality in hotels?
Yeah, so we used to see them a lot more. We don't see them as much for like a simulation type of thing, which one of my goals for next year, that is the goal, to bring that relationship back. What you see now is a lot of tours and like interns will come up and pop up around here and there, but we want to get back to 5 or 6 years ago when they used to come here and get a real feel for the hotel industry.
Because the school itself doesn't have any hotel then, right?
No, it does not. So a long back, a little history. The Iowa State Foundation owned the hotel, and it was Gateway was created to have some kind of nice place, a full service hotel in the area to be able to accommodate the guests of the university or situations like that, and that's why we were built. And so with that being said, like, so the hotel, when the IOC Foundation sold it to our ownership, that was kind of like their last. They don't own a hotel anymore, but they kept a good partnership with us to have that close tie.
Gotcha. So Ames, Iowa, full service hotel. How many rooms do you have?
We have 187.
That's a good size for that area, it sounds like.
Definitely. The next lowest is about 90 something rooms.
So you're probably the nicest hotel in town, I would imagine.
Of course.
Yeah, I actually for a very brief time, I went to University of Iowa in Iowa City. So I'm kind of familiar myself with the dynamics of working in a college town. I worked at the Coralville Marriott Hotel and Conference Center. I'm sure you're familiar.
I was very close with that GM over there. So
with well, I don't know who the current GM is, but Brian Stoles was there when I was over there. Sweet. Okay. So yeah, I know how it can be with like the dynamics of working in a college town. I mean, I was technically a college student at the time I was working there. Didn't really act like it, like I should have acted like a college student. However, it's okay because we moved on to other stuff. So now for you being on that property and being so close to the university, I understand that you're also on the executive board of hospitality for the school as well. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
And what does that actually entail? What does that mean?
So yeah, I just joined earlier this year. I got asked to join, and right off the bat, we did our first meeting since I've started a couple months ago, and it was generally just like a lot of feedback from the board gave to the director of that program was they wanted more face-to-face interaction with the students. So, the first thing we did was we went and talked to a class, and we had small group discussions. I think the teacher set up as like kind of like Shark Tank. So we were the sharks, and the students came up and just kind of chatted with me, like couple. It was like 5 to 10 minute rotations, and we got a chance to get to know the students and What's funny is I was just telling the story to my GM is everyone was saying, man, we want to work in weddings. We want to work in weddings. And I'm like, have you worked a wedding before? And they're like, no. And I'm like, give that a shot first, and then we'll see.
Right.
It's a life-changing experience. And so a bit of student interaction, getting to know the students, getting to know networking sort of a lot, and being able to have that, resource for the students when they graduate, when they need an internship, you guys are there to help them out. We also took a look at their curriculum. We take a look at their curriculum, seeing what they're doing for each program, and we can give our recommendations and what we think. So I always joke. I said I came into that. I said, well, I don't have a degree, so it's gonna be. What do I tell the kids? Don't go to school.
The irony, right? The irony is
exactly
real in this situation. So, does that ever come up, like, especially with your close relationship with the university? Has anybody ever brought that up to you? Has any student ever mentioned anything, or has it kind of just remained just one of those things that just maybe doesn't really matter so much?
The degree part of it, is, are you asking?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, it comes up from time to time, and I told the kids there is, well, I don't want to go in there and say, you don't need college degree, because I strongly believe to some fields you do. And if you're not going to go the college degree route, pair it with experience. Time and time again, I see kids that apply here or anywhere just go, man, I'm struggling. Even on LinkedIn, I see people, man, I'm struggling to find a job. When you look at their LinkedIn profile, 0 years of experience, they have a master's in hospitality. Well, you need to pair that with experience. Like, and 3-month internship isn't going to do it.
So, is that your like honest answer? That's your true unvetted answer? Just want to make sure.
Off the record, my fully honest answer is, if you're not going to go the college degree route, pair it with experience, and not just a couple of years, multiple years of experience. Before I started as a front office manager, I had 5 or 6 years of front desk experience and housekeeping experience before I even moved into that role. And I didn't go the college degree route.
So are you seeing a lot of times with like your proximity to the university, maybe somebody who is a recent graduate, or somebody who's just completed an internship who's now saying, okay, I want to be a front office manager, I want to be a department head, I want to be this, and you're like, wait, like you literally have never been worked in a hotel setting on a full-time basis, and you want to go straight to department head? Does that come up a lot?
I mean, not as often as you'd think, but yeah, I mean, I get messages on LinkedIn pretty regularly, I'd say, like right around graduation time. So I've gotten 3 messages in the past 2 months, and yesterday was graduation for Iowa State. And then you'll get it again in May when graduation comes up again, is you see those kids that just graduated. Man, I want to go work in a hotels department head. It's like, you just graduated. Like,
yeah.
Let's take it slow.
Do you have experience in hiring people who are currently attending school, and also people who've recently graduated as well?
Yeah, definitely. So being so close to university, we offer leniencies here and there. We're very, very flexible with the schedule based on, so a little unknown fact too is Ames has the lowest unemployment rate in the nation.
Fascinating.
At 1.5%. And with that, we have to kind of be flexible sometimes. Otherwise, there's 3 new hotels being opened up. What's stopping them from going somewhere else? So we work very closely with their schedule. If they have finals, they have tests and stuff like that, we'll give them time to study. We'll work with them on that. And because generally most of my staff is college students.
Sure.
At one point when I was a front desk agent, I think out of, there's like 8 of us that were going to school. And that's full-time and part-time people.
I mean, it's just, now granted, I did work in Coralville next to the University of Iowa, and I found that a lot of the associates that I was working with were actually graduates of college, or that just decided to stay in Iowa City, or people who had or working on their master's degree who had decided to stay in Iowa City as well. So I never was able to experience like all undergraduate students working at the front desk, and then finals hit at the same time and everybody wants to be off, or, you know, everybody's stressed about something, or this class schedule and that class schedule. Does it make sense where you are to do that? Do you find that there's a lot of talent in those college students that isn't worth passing up because of their requirements?
Yeah, definitely. One aspect of it is we have students that will work here. I have one of my supervisors, he's a senior front office supervisor, and he's a MIS student, you know, he's tech guy. He's nothing. He didn't think about, he worked in concrete before he started working at the hotel in high school. So he started working here in college, and man, that he's one of my top front office supervisors. And he really just surprised me. Honestly, I didn't think he'd be like this, you know, quick to take on all these responsibilities. He's learning how to. The other day, I saw how I came in, and he was learning how to change a PTAC. I'm like, oh my god, like good on you, man. Like, you're just trying to learn, you're trying to get all that experience in. So, and also, side part is, you know, you can't, if I didn't hire these people that were in school, I probably wouldn't have a reliable, strong staff.
Right. Absolutely. So, like, despite the fact that you didn't get a degree, and you remain on the hospitality board for the university and everything, so it sounds like you value education. Maybe it just didn't work out so well for you in your college career specifically. What was there? Was hotels for you a way of, okay, well, I don't have a degree, so I just need to get into something that I can get into, or was it something that you had already wanted to get into?
So it's a little bit of a funny story. So my parents, I used to live in Chicago. I grew up kind of in the Mount Prospect, Des Plaines area.
Sweet.
And I grew up there for 12 years. And when we were 12, we moved to Ames, Iowa, or Story City, Iowa, which is 10 miles north of Ames. Like 2,000 people, nothing going on. Everything closed at 10 o'clock. My parents bought a hotel there, and, you know, they bought some hotels. And so I grew up working in them since I was 12, you know, whether I was covering the desk while my parents were cleaning rooms, or when I was cleaning rooms, we'll help my parents out. And a lot of that wasn't by choice. It was just help my parents out. Really, I don't think I had a choice in that aspect of it. I wanted Taco Bell at the end of the day. So you do what you got to do. And
the finest restaurant in town, right?
Exactly.
The Iowa Taco Bell was your Michelin starred restaurant.
The fine dining experience at Taco Bell. So, you know, going there, and that's where I worked throughout my, you know, high school and everything like that. And sometimes when your friends are out, you know, going to football games, and we're working the front desk, and you're sitting there, man, I really want to go, but mom and dad said you have to work the front desk. It is what it is. And growing up in that, so just a little backstory about my college experience was, like, after high school, I went to AIB College of Business. It's a private university in Des Moines. I was going to major in marketing, and my dad ended up unfortunately passing away that year. So it was 5 years ago. And when he passed away, we had to go to India for the funeral and the rites and stuff like that. And when I came back, I was finding out that AIB was shutting down as a school. So that caused a whole stir up, and I had to go somewhere else. That's when I kind of went to DMAC in Iowa State, did that for a couple of years, and still wasn't really working out for me. You know, I mentally, I wasn't there at the time. And so I had to take a part-time job, and I started working at the hotel just because, you know, I knew what I was doing in hotels, and I said, you know what, I'm going to stick to what I know for right now while I figure things out. And when I left my parents' hotels, when we sold all of them, I told myself, I'm like, I'm never working in a hotel again. One, because all I thought in a hotel, there was a front desk, housekeeping, and a maintenance person. I thought that was it. And I didn't know any other positions in a hotel. And then when I started working here, and I saw the, you know, different opportunities here, and I saw people happy and moving up, and so that's what I wanted to do, and that's kind of what I started to work for, was that.
So you hadn't really stayed in many hotels growing up, hadn't really, like, because it sounds like for somebody who literally, like, nearly, like, lived inside of a hotel, essentially working there, helping your parents out, being indoctrinated into that culture from a young age, that you're knowledge seemed very limited to that immediate hotel. Did you find that you were just like shocked when you saw like a full service hotel or something of that nature that completely different from what you knew?
So, I mean, just to add on that, me and my brother always joke that we live the sweet life of Zach and Cody.
Right.
But our entire family, they all owned hotels. So my uncles own hotels, my cousins own hotels, and they have Hilton rewards, and the discounted room night. So we'd stay in quite a bit of hotels, full service and non. So, but when I'd stay at those hotels when I was under 16 years old, I wasn't really my goal wasn't to look around and saying, oh man, what's going on in the hotel. I went in the room and I said, wow, look, they do this in the room, and that other hotel didn't do this in their room. So, I mean, I'd see that aspect of it, I guess the interior room part of it. I never really glanced at the big picture and saying, how is this set up? How is the structure here?
Sure.
So in a sense, it was a bit of a surprise coming to a full service and seeing like, oh my God, there's a whole food and beverage director. There's many positions.
There's actual managers to run the hotel.
Just run by a housekeeper and a front desk guy.
So like, I guess it sounds to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like growing up and your initial work experience in hotels, you weren't very passionate about it.
No.
So tell me about like your transformation from being an apathetic kid who's working against his will essentially at his parents' hotel to becoming somebody who's and thank you so much, being an avid fan of our show and going out of your way to educate and enrich yourself with hospitality content, and somebody who's worked their way up very quickly in the hotel world and is passionate about education and enriching the lives of other people who are interested in what you do. How did you get from point A all the way to point B?
A lot of it was growing up very quickly. I think I like to base a lot of where I'm at right now based on what I have and what I've learned. And I might not have the experience as the next person in line with the resume experience, but I think what I bring to the table is a different aspect of doing hotels. I think most people that are in my position, I mean, look on their LinkedIn, they have a college degree, they have certifications, and the list goes on. And I think me coming in, I think I bring the same strengths that some of these individuals do, but without the college degree, and that give them the aspect of maybe you don't have to see the norm. Live outside the norm is what I go by, and you don't have to go through just because that person hired that person with a college degree, just because he had the certification needed. What about this guy? If I gave this guy a chance, is he going to knock it out of the park? And so, growing up and starting here, when I started as a part-time front desk agent, I went to front desk full-time. And then when a position came open, and which was kind of interesting because I jumped from front desk when I went to reservations for a little bit, and I jumped all my supervisors. So, maybe it was a couple weeks ago, the front desk supervisors were documenting me on being a few minutes late. Well, now I'm their boss, so it's a complete whirlwind now because I'm hanging out with some of these guys after work at the bars, wherever the case may be. I'm going to shoot hoops with some of these people before, after work, and now I'm their manager, and it's got to be a little bit more professional now. So that was a pretty that's what helped me grow up a lot quicker, because I couldn't live that lifestyle of going out every weekend or whatever the case may be, hanging out with my coworkers, because as a manager you have to have a little bit more professionalism in that aspect, and I'm sure you can relate as well.
Absolutely. I have a similar, one of my properties started out with everybody and then
jumped that
beyond everybody else. Yep.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. That's just how it works. But that helped me grow up a lot, and I think honestly that's what led me to become where I'm at now, because I see managers now that have that same problem. Is they used to work with their people, their apprentices, now they're above them, and they struggle with that. They struggle with trying to create that line of hey, I'm a manager now. I can't be doing the same stuff I was doing last year.
So it sounds to me like you really like the management aspect of hospitality. Would you say that
I
like
think
that what
yeah.
really like propelled it for you? Like if we're going from, again, the apathetic kid to, the director of operations for a full service property, was it like when you first transcended into management that you really felt your passion skyrocket?
I think when I was a full-time front desk agent, I think that's when I kind of felt myself skyrocket. I had one of my front office managers, who's my GM now. His name is Sam Meisinger, and he kind of let us handle it when he was a front office manager. He kind of let us work the desk ourselves. He let us fix the problem ourselves. I think in the past you saw managers that were a little bit more controlling of what was going on, and he kind of let us take a grasp of the hotel. So it kind of felt like I was the manager in a sense.
Mhm.
I think it's being allowed to make decisions, and the way I was able to exceed guest expectations and whatever way, I'd find out, hey, they've had, a long day, they've been at a funeral, whatever the case may be, and putting a little VIP amenity in there, putting some flowers in there, and you'd see them come down the desk with tears in their eyes, like, thank you so much. This helps. It's a little thing, but it helps so much. And seeing that aspect, I'm like, wow, like I love making people happy like this. This is awesome. And I think I think that's what it is. And part of it is being as a manager as well, is you have a little bit more control on certain aspects. So it's nice being able to make a decision that's going to impact your department, your ownership, your management team, the guests in a very positive manner.
So seeing that guest, or those guests that you made happy, that was kind of the starting point for you, that you're like, okay, this isn't just one person working an entire hotel just to stay above water, in Story City, Iowa. This is me bringing happiness and peace to another human being. It goes beyond the front desk agent, housekeeper, and maintenance man, right?
Right. Now we included the room service people in there too.
Right, of course. So I guess, like, now, you kind of were able to overcome those challenges as a front office manager, which I know that's not easy. What did you have to change your mindset? Like, how did you adapt to that challenge? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are facing that exact same thing.
I think you just have to take everything, slow. I think I made a mistake when I first started off as front office manager. I made a lot of change right off the bat, and that affected how I manage everything, very, very poorly, because I lost respect of guests, of my ownership, of my staff. That's most importantly my staff. My staff didn't respect me anymore because I made so many changes in the first 3 months. I was changing policies left and right, and I think if to be in that same thing, I probably would have done it completely different. I probably wouldn't have changed up their entire way of living at the front desk. Um, so I mean, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess, was it so I guess that's fascinating, because a lot of people would say that, okay, yes, this is Neil's time to shine. He's now the front office manager. Um, and you would think that would, it's your time to make those decisions, change those policies, so on and so forth. What exactly about you changing those policies and you actually stepping up and doing what you felt like was right in the moment, do you think like actually backfired on you?
So I think it was the way I handled it, the way I went about it. Um, I did it very, now that when I sit back and think of it, it seemed like I did it kind of behind the scenes, like, I had my agenda almost, in a sense. And when you make change, it's there's always going to be people that love your change that you make. There's always going to be people that hate the change you make because it affects them. Not everyone is receptive to change, and I think I didn't realize that. And I said, what, if they don't want to, my attitude going in there was, I'm the manager. Whatever I say, whatever I says goes. Well, it's always good to take a step back and kind of get feedback. Regardless if you're going to use that feedback or not, talk to your team about it. I failed to have those meetings with my front office team saying, hey guys, we're going to be making this change. The way I did it, I sent a memo out. Hey guys, this is the change that's happening starting today. it's a little bit like a whoa, like we're used to, talking about it and going through it. And so, moving forward, what I learned from that was I need to have, I need to be inclusive. I need to have open communication, with all my team members, and being able to, if they don't like something, if they don't like the way I'm doing it, talk to me. Let's talk about it. It's up to them to change my mind in a sense of why shouldn't we do this? And I think and I think the open communication really helps.
Yeah, and I guess like for me too, it's like they're the people who are actually going to be executing on the change. So you can send as many memos as you want, but they're the only ones who are going to be actually doing it.
Right. And people to enforce your policies when then you don't have their buy-in on it.
Right. And that's a great point. I think communication is critical, and I think that, really taking the time to change things when you feel that the time is right and the team dynamics are in place to support that change. Because how many times, and like, hey, you know what, we've all been there, but how many times have you tried to implement something and it picks up steam for like a few days, a week, and then all of a sudden it's as if nobody wants to talk about it anymore. It's like it never happened. And then it's just like, oh, well, that didn't stick at all,
Yeah. I think I faced that too, because I was trying to, I'm not kidding. I think I created like 15 policies in the first 3 months, and you'd see someone pick up like, oh man, I'm like, I did create this policy. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, okay, it's good to go. And then you think about it and you're like, oh my God, that's not happening anymore.
And you can't possibly manage and oversee as an individual, as the manager. It's almost overwhelming for you just as it is for your team, because you can't possibly hold them accountable for so many things because you got other stuff to do. Like you don't have time to be going back, double checking, make sure everything is good here, make sure this is good, make sure that's good. And then that's when things kind of fall on their face. I think that's something that a lot of hoteliers and just people in business and in life in general face, because the whirlwind of the day-to-day and everything like that is so powerful. And I think that does need to be taken into consideration when making new policies and procedures. So let's talk about the change in the team dynamic, and if that, as your leadership style progressed, and what did anybody, like, say, you said his name was Sam, right? Your GM?
Yep.
Did he have any influence in kind of observing and like maybe coaching you, like, hey, obviously what you're doing now isn't working, let's try to move forward this way? Like, how is your relationship with the mentor beneficial to you?
Yeah. So, when it was kind of a funny story with Sam, give a little backstory, is I was a part-time front desk agent. He was a front office supervisor at the time. When I was full-time, he was still my supervisor. And we always joked around. We're like, man, one day we're gonna be two big heads in this hotel. We're gonna make some good change here. And it's kind of fun because he just a few months ago, and he's the GM now. So it's kind of funny that what came into fruition. But after he left from front, he went to AGM, the hotel, and then he went to Hyatt Regency in Minneapolis. And he was working over there. So I didn't have him there as my kind of go-to right off the bat. He couldn't see what change I was making necessarily. So I would communicate with him a lot. I'd call him, I'd text him, be like, hey, I did this way. How would I do it this way? But it was hard, I think, for him to give me that appropriate mentorship because he wasn't right there on the property. So he couldn't really see the reaction of the staff. I think if he was here and walking by and just talking to a staff member and saying, hey, how's this going? And then he'll get their feedback that way. It all starts, it's like, it's like that saying, it all sounds good on pen and paper. And, when you say it when you say it out loud, you're like, I don't know about this.
Yeah. And I think like that's the dichotomy between like leadership and management to a certain extent. Like, when you're basically first given a nice management job, it's like, okay, well, the pressure's on me. I gotta I got to write up all these policies, and you know what? Like I've got this folder full of SOPs, and it looks great, written very professionally, very well. And in a perfect world, this would be great. The hotel's gonna be better because of it. But those policies ain't shit if it's not implemented right.
Exactly. No, that's a fact. That's straight fact, because you can sit there and, you know, write off policy, like write on my whiteboard, man, these all look great, I'm good to go, and sit here in my suit, think everything's all good, and then everyone out there is like, what is he doing? Like, is he okay? What's he doing in there?
Yeah, and I think it's like kind of like you stated. I think you will inevitably lose credibility if that management style is sustained over time. But I think one of the things that can help resurrect that, and I don't know if this is something that maybe you kind of experience yourself, but being able to have the humility and the vulnerability to say, like, you know what, I'm sorry that I put this on you. You know, we're gonna start having an open dialogue now, and like, you know, I'm a new manager myself, and I'm trying to figure this out just like you are, and I'm hoping that moving forward we can have a better relationship and work together to make this hotel a better place. You know, that would, I think, almost immediately like erase any sort of negativity that had followed you from the past.
See, I failed in that aspect, and I'll be fully honest about it. Is I didn't go about it that way. I just slowly stopped making policies, and and you know, like you said, I lost credibility with my staff. When I started making new policies, everyone was questioning everything I did. Are you sure this is right? Are you sure this is the way you want to do it? Are you sure? Because I'd be changing up policies left and right too. So, you know, when I'd first do a policy, I'd change it up again, or a month later I'd change it up again. So I think that it was this dynamic of nothing's sticking here. Like, I don't know what's going on. There's no consistency in any of this. So, and I learned that, you know, when I moved up to my role, I have, you know, 3 different departments underneath me that are pretty crucial to part of the hotel. And, you know, I have to be very, very like, hey guys, what do you guys think? And I can make a policy. I was just talking to my 2 department heads in facilities and housekeeping. Is I'll make a policy. I can make a decision. But if you, as a department head, do not think it's the right decision, you know more about your department than I do. You know, tell me, because I want to know. I don't know all the right answers. Nobody has all the answers. So share your feedback. I'm big on that, because what I dislike very, very much, and I'm sure everyone deals with it on a day-to-day basis, is you make a change and the other person knows it's a wrong, terrible idea. And then after you fail, they go, I should have told you. It's like, yeah, well, you should have told me, because it all affects us in the big picture.
And I think that's a great point. Like, it's as the leader of leaders, it's kind of your job to make sure that communication is fluid, that you're approachable, because ultimately it's going to look bad on you and that department head for whatever decision that ultimately, if you made it by yourself, that department head is still going to look bad because of it. You know, even though it's technically your decision that you made, you know, and it affects everybody on the hotel level. Yeah. I kind of want to see, like, you know, you kind of gave a little bit of insight. Like, it sounds like you're much more open now than when you started out in a management, but how would you surmise your management style, and have you had success currently?
I think, you know, I have had good success. I think when I first started, I had the buy-in of my staff, you know, all my managers. You know, I was talking to them regularly, and I like to have one-on-one meetings with them, just to say, hey, what, you know, I have my agenda, I have my projects and stuff. What are your personal goals? Like, what can I help you with? Because at the end of the day, as a leader, you want to train someone to take your job. You know what I mean? So if one of their goals is to move up to a position like I am in, let me help you. You know, walk with me. Like, let's do a tour on the hotel, see what I do on a day-to-day basis. I've taken people from the front desk doing the same thing. As I'll see a supervisor, and he comes to me and says, hey, you know, I really want to move up in the hotel. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? And something like kind of like what you do. Okay, well, you know, take them on for a couple of days and just show them, like, hey, this is my day-to-day. Take them to, you know, revenue meetings, take them to yield meetings, and just throw them into it. You know, let them get all frustrated and be like, oh my God, like, how does anyone do this? How do you set rates? And, you know, you talk to him after, he goes, oh man, that was a lot different than I thought it was. I'm like, yeah, it's sometimes it gets, sometimes it gets heated in there. You're trying to set rates, you're trying to work in transient groups, doing group business. It's a tense time, and I think just having that buy-in from your staff by talking to them improved my leadership so much, because I honestly couldn't be in the position I am right now if it wasn't for my 3 managers.
So I absolutely love what you just said, because from your position, you have already done front desk, front office supervisor. Like, you've done that already. Mm-hmm. So your ability to empathize with them is already there. Yep. However, from them to you, and that kind of straight line of empathy going from them to you, is it doesn't reach anywhere, because they've never been a director of operations. They've never seen it from your lens before. They can't even fathom it because they have no idea. It's just ignorance, and nothing wrong with that. But what you've done by taking that front office supervisor to around with you for a couple days and showing them, yeah, like, I have a fancy title, and obviously I'm the boss of your boss, and like I walk around this hotel like, because this is my kingdom. This is actually what I'm doing. This is the glamour that you think I have in my day-to-day life at work here. And I feel like that will just open up them to empathize with you. So if you make a decision, which you will inevitably have to do, that is unpopular, but you have to make that decision for the long-term or short-term benefit of the hotel, then maybe that person will be able to empathize with you and support you just a little bit more.
Yeah, and I've honestly seen that, so their names are Jake and Eli. They're my 2 supervisors at the front office, and Dylan is my front office manager, and I'm actually using his office right now. So
nice.
And with those 2, having their buy-in on certain meetings, and me and Dylan were talking, it's like, let's just bring them into every meeting that we do, because honestly, they're going to be the ones, pushing that onto the line level staff out there, the front desk agents, and let's get them involved. Let's get them to, and it's awesome now because they've been in a few meetings now, so they're more open to sharing ideas. And again, now you see a different perspective of it, different spectrum of the, when I used to be sharing my ideas, now you have someone else sharing their ideas, and it's a different outlook on how you would think. I shared my ideas from a different outlook, and I feel like that's kind of helped me get to my position I am now. Now you see the same thing happening in a different area, as you see them showing their ideas, and they're very, very good ideas. Some of them are implemented in a hotel-wide policy. It's awesome to see that.
And I think like that's just a great realization when you realize that like you aren't the smartest person. Like, you're not going to have all the answers to everything. One brain is limited, whereas, a collaborative effort is almost infinite in the possibilities of ideas and things that could come of it. Now, and I want to go back, because, and you reminded me, I didn't get a chance to ask you about your perspective, having not been a college graduate, having grown up, in the mud, basically in hotels, and doing all that, the dirty work, and seeing it from that point of view, versus like a bright-eyed college graduate who's just, anything is beautiful at that point, and then maybe with that stark realization afterward. But how do you think that your perspective in life, that's only unique to you, has been a benefit and a detriment in your life and in your hotel career?
Yeah, growing up in a small hotel like that, it's, you don't see the revenue numbers you see at any other hotel. So, you come up, $80 rates, $60 rates, $70 rates, you get the clientele you get, and being on the interstate. And I think what's helped me now, propelled me into my area now, was kind of what I've always held down to, is it's always ready. I'm always down to get, dirty. Like, if I need, like, there's been times where I literally need to sit down and help lift stuff, and I'm getting my suit dirty, whatever the case may be, I'm going to do it. I think what you see now is you see these, I'm not trying to attack any college graduates, but you see these
guys, bro, tell your truth, man.
Okay, I'm speak here. Okay. Here's my TED talk. Okay, so you have people that they have college degrees. They take these titles. They director of rooms, director of hotel operations, director of food and beverage, and then you don't see them get down and dirty, and you don't see them on the front line with their staff. You see them in the back commanding from the office. That might work in some aspects, but every director, every GM, every high up executive position needs to be down with their team. Every now and then I'll be down there helping. They don't need my help, but I'll just do it. I'll just come down there. I'll annoy them. I'll go down to laundry and I'll go help them put the sheets through the press. They're like, we don't need your help. I'm like, I know. I just want to talk to you guys, help you guys out. And they're like, oh my God, Neil's here again. Like, just joking around with them. Like, hey guys, I'm here for a photo op. Like, joking around with them. They're like, oh God, here comes Neil. Like, it's just having that fun environment, because these are the people that are doing it for you on a day-to-day basis. Would I want to be doing that on a day-to-day basis? No. So I'm going to appreciate the heck out of them, because they do it day in and day out. And, facilities, my facilities team, it's been a very, very busy year this year. We've done a lot of improvements, and they're, every single day it's a different day for them, and their work ethic is, really, really strong. And, you go out there like, hey, you want help raking leaves? And they're like, no, Neil, we don't need your help raking leaves. I'm like, you sure? I'll help. You don't need your help. So, but they have the understanding is, if Neil needs to get down there, he will get down there. And I full-heartedly believe that. We recently got mini fridges in all of our guest rooms, and the people that were helping were me. The director of sales wanted to help until he threw out his back. You see all these executive positions, you see managers, you see lines. It's a mix of everybody. Suit jackets off. Shirts unbuttoned. Lifting mini fridges off a semi truck to put them in the guest rooms. It's stuff like that really makes me happy, because that's what I grew up in. Is I saw my dad, who was the owner, I guess, doing all these things, repairing PTEC, repairing, in-room stuff like that. And that's kind of what I've always held is, we didn't have a very big staff. The staff that we did have at the front desk and housekeeping, when he'd come down and clean rooms and stuff, you see this 55-year-old, owner clean rooms. They still saw that aspect of, wow, he's coming down to help me out. He's not above everybody else. He's just one of us. And that's what I want to go by, is I'm just one of everybody else.
Now, I just, because, I got to play devil's advocate here, I want to challenge you a little bit on that. So, sure. Like, let's just say in an ideal world, that's great. You would, you're kind of there to cheerlead. You're there to, float around to different departments, help out as needed, show your face, all that stuff. But how do you balance your director of operations duties, and how do you balance empowering your team to do it when you're not there, if you're going to be there with them like that? Kind of those two things, because your job, some may argue, is, that's why we have a laundry attendant, so you don't have to be down there doing it. That's why we have this person, so you don't have to be doing that. Tell me a little about your views on that, and like, do you, what's your response to that?
Yeah, so I'd recommend not doing that all the time. It's just a general way, because it could kind of get mixed up with micromanaging in a sense, and you don't want that as leader at any way. But you want to be able to. It's kind of a show of face. If you're there and that your team sees you, they're more open to communicating with you. I honestly find so much stuff about people and so many issues that are going on in the hotel. When I'm working with some of these people, whether it's just, well, we have a laundry attendant, we have a room attendant, we have facilities team, right? But you won't know their frustrations until you work with them. You need to get an understanding of what they do, because you can't. That helps me now make better policies, better decisions for the hotel. Is, oh man, how is that going to affect that housekeeper who works this job this many hours on? And is this, we're putting a new heating and cooling unit in the AC laundry area. I wouldn't have known that until I worked there, and I was sweating profusely after 1 hour of folding sheets when I'm literally standing there and putting it into the press.
Sure.
I would have had no idea. And I see these people sweating all the time. I'm like, man, they're just working hard. No, it's because it's like 95 degrees in there and it's like awful. I can't imagine them working in there. So I think there's benefits of that, but I do see a downfall in it because you can get too involved in it, and then it becomes, why do we have all these staff members? Neil's doing it.
Do you think it's gotten to that point or no?
No, I don't think so. I think I have a good balance of being able to every day. I do a walk around, throughout my entire staff. I do go inspect some guest rooms, whatever the case may be. Is I'm always, just walking around and just talking to people left and right. I don't want to have start conversations, but just generally just like, hey, how's everything going? Do you need any help? And then generally the consensus is no. Every now and then you'll see someone like, hey, I'm out of towels on this one. I need to go I'm kind of behind on my rooms. Sure thing. I'll be right back. I'll either call a houseman or a house person, or I'll just go do it myself. I know if they're an extremely busy day, this is 187 checkouts, and you need to turn them over for the next day. I'll jump in. I'll help out. The other day we had, what was it? I think it was a few weeks ago now. We had, I posted on my LinkedIn, we had so many call-offs in housekeeping, and we had to turn like 160 rooms. And housekeeping they were projecting, like, they started at 8 o'clock, they're projecting a 6 or 7 p.m. Or it was an 8 p.m. day. So it was a 12-hour day. That's kind of crazy. So me, the director of food and beverage, and the GM, we all jumped out there and we started cleaning rooms. We started stripping rooms, stripping beds and stuff like that. And that was because there was not a cry for help, but they asked. They said, hey, does anyone want to volunteer to help out? And we waited and no one volunteered. So, we're like, let's step up to the plate. Let's go help these people out, And I think they ended up we didn't help them that much. I think we were slowing them down partially, all of us combined.
Well, you know what? Those ladies who've been cleaning rooms, they do it very well, and they know exactly what they're doing. It's sometimes you go up there fumbling around a little bit. It's like you really are slowing them down to a certain extent. But again, you're showing face, which is a good thing.
Exactly. And I think it's fun because, you see a bunch of them pile in, they know they're behind on their time. They know they're going to have to make it up, but they come up and watch you all clean rooms. They're laughing at you, because you guys are spending 20 minutes on one bed. You're like trying to get it perfect. And they're, it's a good environment because on that stressful kind of day, you see everyone coming together to help out. And it's just a fun, inclusive environment.
Do you think that's something that culture you've been able to help kind of through with your background of being down and dirty with your dad and your mom in the hotels and coming up doing everything? Do you think you've been able to kind of help perpetuate that culture in a completely different environment?
I think to a certain extent, yeah. And I may be talking about housekeeping too much, but Linda, she's the housekeeping manager there, and she's honestly helped continually instill that into me. Is she's always down there, helping the team out and cleaning rooms and stripping rooms, and she's doing the rounds regularly to make sure, hey, everyone okay, let's get this done. Come on. Like, she's the one that's cheerleading on a day-to-day aspect. I'm thinking big picture cheerleading. She's the day-to-day aspect. And
sure.
I think when I see her, and when I see my facility manager, when I see my front office manager, when I see all of them so like focused on, they're getting all their work done, but then they're also focused on the front desk or the facility side. They're helping, with IT work. They're doing all the legwork. And I think that continually, like, I have that already instilled in me, but that just kind of helps remind me, like, hey, look at these guys.
Okay. So what's next for you? What's next for you, man? Because how long have you been in your current role?
So I started kind of in the December, January, February area. That's when I started my training.
So you're about a year in?
Just about a year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What do you see like in the future for yourself? And kind of just down the line, what do you see for Neil?
Eventually I want to move over to a full service but a branded hotel. I think having the branded hotel experience is a little bit different than my experience, because being independent here at Gateway, to a certain extent, you get to create your own policies. You get to be creative with your policies. It's kind of like working for a boutique or a curio collection hotel. You have your certain set guidelines, but it's not like to a full extent where like a Hilton hotel is. It's a curio collection, so it's curiosity. You make your own rules in a sense, to a certain extent. So that's kind of where I want to move to, but then eventually down the line is move to that type of hotel.
Would you be like do you think it's going to be kind of in the Ames area, or do you see yourself eventually moving out of Ames? Like, what do you think, man?
So you know, as far as I lived in Ames, I'm tired of the cold. Uh, I want to move out, you know, either south or west. You know, everyone has their dream hotels and hospitality. I don't know if you have one or don't say it's the hotel you work at because I know that's not always. But you know, my goal has always been the Fairmont in Austin. I just think it's a beautiful hotel. It's a beautiful property. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's beautiful, beautiful hotel.
I'll check it out.
It's 1,100 rooms. It's huge.
Yeah. So that's the basically you want to like make sure that whatever you're doing on a daily basis means that you're getting a step closer to eventually running that place.
Yeah, or doing something in the leadership there. Just being a 187 room hotel and them having over 1,100. I have to work my way up in room counts before I get to the 1,100 count. And so, you know, I have some time. I have some growing to do. I have some learning to do, definitely, and I'm fully aware of that. And we'll see what happens down the line.
But I do think that there's to a certain extent, again, just like everything else, to a certain extent. But there's a value of coming from a smaller property. There's a value from maybe, you know, having a little bit of a select serve background and then kind of going into full service. There's certainly value in a smaller hotel because you wear more hats, you get exposure to more things, and your horizons are a little bit more broad just because that's the needs of that particular property. When you're at a luxury hotel or a big box property, or, you know, something like that, you're really specializing in your own role, and sometimes you'll see people who have the blinders on because they've been let me just give a basic example of a front desk agent at a 1,000-room hotel knows nothing but checking people in and out. And then they say, you know, you want to hire them for your property and you bring them on board and you're like, oh, this person worked at a, you know, 750-room hotel. They're going to be perfect. They can handle anything that we throw at them. And then, you know, you get them here and you're like, all right, here's some credit card authorization forms. Go and fill these out. Go and make sure these are actioned. They literally won't know what to do. And you're going to say, wait a second, you have 2-3 years experience as a front desk agent at a, you know, reputable branded hotel at 750 rooms, and you can't apply a basic credit card authorization form that's used at every hotel in the world. Mm-hmm. And the answer is, yeah, they won't be able to.
Right. And I think that's why I credit Gateway on that aspect of is, you know, when I was a front desk agent, I learned about, you know, the maintenance area. I learned about housekeeping. We helped, you know, work some CS events, you know, when we were short staffed, instead of hiring a third party, you know, we all jumped up to the table, and having all that experience is always helpful because, like you said, you know, we've had people at the front desk here that, you know, we don't have too many people that come from hotel experience. We generally give them that hotel experience. I like to consider Gateway that stepping stone for someone to get that hotel experience.
Almost a gateway to a hotel career.
Gateway hotel. Now. But you know, you see that as it's such a tight knit group, almost in a sense, is, you know, you're always helping everybody out. Everyone's helping because at the end goal is to make the hotel successful, and everyone's got to step up to the plate, whether it's, you know, on a daily basis, whether it's every now and then when someone needs help. And
so, I mean, and again, like, not knocking anybody who comes from a large hotel, because there's definitely value in that, and everybody can learn and grow from that, and, you know, be able to, you know, you'll be the best check in and check out, you know, front desk agent ever, and then you'll eventually be able to learn and broaden your horizon. And it's just the needs of the hotel. But that gives you a different perspective, just like you have a different perspective, just like I do. And I think that's what makes us all, you know, unique and valuable in our own ways, and especially when it comes together at the hotel level. Now, we're just about out of time. Did you want to say any last words or anything that you wanted to communicate out before we wrap up here today?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to mention to everybody is, like going back on the college degree aspect of it is please take these words. And the final words is if you're not going to go the college degree route, match it with experience. That's such a key thing I think everyone should remember is, and that experience again should not be a 3-month internship either. I think that'll help people in the long run, and it will counteract sometimes when you look on job description or job requirements is degree preferred, degree required. Okay, well, everyone's got an offer from a place that says degree required that you don't have a degree in, and you can get it. It's possible.
Neil, where can our listeners find you?
On LinkedIn, Neil Upadhyay. I look like 6 years younger, and I look a lot skinnier in that picture. It's a fish. You can also find me on Instagram at the Great Nellis. So
cool. Neil, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and for being an avid fan and listener of the show. We very, very much appreciate you, and I'm glad we got a chance to chat today, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. I really, really appreciate it. It's great talking to you, Kyle.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll see you again, hopefully.
Yep, definitely. We'll try to make this happen again.
All right.
See you guys.
See you, man.